The Denver Broncos made some noise during the 2024 NFL Draft by drafting Bo Nix in the first round. Then we got to day 3, and Troy Franklin fell to the 4th round. They traded up, they swooped in, and they got him. Now they got the Oregon connection at the quarterback wide receiver duo with Troy Franklin and Bo Nix. Now we get to see this couple mature together in the Broncos offense. Shawn Payton had a lot to say about that. Shawn Payton had a lot to say about Troy Franklin and how excited he was to get him. We're going to cover that today. We're going to talk about the advanced metrics and how we project Troy Franklin going forward. On top of that, how Bo Nix fits into the mix. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now because we're talking about these rookies nonstop. We're talking about rookie camp. We're going over the clips. We're going over the workouts. We're going over the advanced metrics every single day. Click that button. Stop missing out on your favorite players. But Shawn Payne's got some stuff to say, and we got to hear about it right now.
That value, I think, when we left here last night was we just thought, man, the big question is there going to be a partner the next morning at the other end that's willing to do a deal? So we were lucky enough to find one.
And we left about midnight because we were here late, obviously. And Shawn sleeps in a little bit typically. And I knew when I got a text at 6 a.m. saying we really want this player.
Let's get this
player.
player.
Get this player.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we got to figure this one out. But it was universal. It was a consensus.
Troy Franklin. So I think when we went home last night, George and I both, it clears out, and you're kind of looking at how the next day might unfold. I think the two of us looked at him like, man, it'd be, and we also knew that it was going to be impossible for us to wait. When the day ends, there's always these 6 players that I think around the league you feel like are going to go pretty quickly. We see him as an outside Z, really good speed. He's a guy that we were really impressed with at the line of scrimmage. We also, had combine, and then even at Bo's private workout, he was there. So probably a little bit more exposure, and there was a lot more coincidence to that than like that's just how this draft unfolds sometimes. So there was a really unique player with a high grade. Call it kick it 2 rounds over that's sitting there by himself. And so we see him as a Z.
Did you catch that last bit from Shawn Payton? He graded him as a 2nd-round player, falling to the 4th round. He was excited to trade up to get him. He wanted to make sure he got Troy Franklin, sees him as a Z, see him playing on the outside, see him winning with the release package, his nuance, his route running, getting downfield. That's what we see with Troy Franklin. A lot of people saw him as a 2nd-round pick. Some people thought he could sneak into the latter part of the 1st round. Some people thought he'd fall a little bit into the 2nd. Not many people were calling him a 4th rounder. And the thing about this wide receiver class is not very comparable to other wide receiver classes because you got like 10 or 12 wide receivers here that you could make the case could be a 2nd or 3rd round grade. So obviously with the economics of things, you're just going to get your guy or you're going to wait on your hands, which is going to cause a couple wide receivers to fall into the 4th round. If that wide receiver falls deep into the 4th round, that's big time trouble. However, Troy Franklin was going to day 3 and teams were rushing to get him. Denver traded up. They made sure they got their guy. They made sure they landed Troy Franklin, and they paid up. They paid some picks to get him. They paid more than a 4th round pick. They paid multiple picks. This is bigger than a 4th round pick to them. They were making sure they got him. They were getting a 2nd round pick on the cheap. That's what they are saying. That's what Shawn Payton finished off with. He's excited to have him. And of course, Des Bryant had to chime in, being the voice of reason, trying to get at Shawn Payton to let him know to get his guy, Troy Franklin. Well, when you look at Troy Franklin here, good size adjusted speed. He's got a 4.41 40-yard dash. And you look at the depth chart, Courtland Sutton's not going to be there forever. Marvin Mims, we like him. Very good deep threat. But you look at everybody else. I love Tim Patrick. I'm not going to say anything negative about him. Tim Patrick fan for life. But Troy Franklin's in a depth chart where there's a pathway where you could see him being very relevant in this offense, seeing a lot of touches, seeing a lot of snaps, getting some opportunities here. And Troy Franklin, if he plays to his upside, could be taking over this passing game. Could be sooner than later. And that's what you see out of a first or second round pick. He fell to the fourth round, but the opportunity is going to be there. Remember, he was the second pick taken in the fourth round. That means they went to bed. A lot of NFL teams went to bed that night going into day 3 and we're thinking about Troy Franklin. The Broncos woke up saying, hey, we got to get this deal done because somebody else is going to get him. We know it because we've heard it from other teams. They did not exactly say that, but they know, they had that feeling. They've talked about Troy Franklin everywhere else. They know that other teams were going to try and get Troy Franklin somewhere down the line, whether it's 4-3, 4-4, 4-5, somewhere they wouldn't be able to get him, so they had to trade up. They got their guy. And you're looking at his stats here. He was very productive. 1,300 yards last year, 14 touchdowns. He broke out at age 19 with a 24% market share of the team's passing production. Then last year, age 20, 28.47% market share of Oregon's passing production. We got an age 19 breakout age, and the breakout age is very important for wide receivers because it lets you know when that wide receiver started to transition to the college game. And the quicker you transition, the quicker you're competitive at the college level, the next level up from the high school level, saying that you can transition from one level to the next. That being said, that's an indicator that he can transition from the college level to the next level, that being the NFL. And you're looking at his yards per route ran. One of the tops in the class, 3.32 yards per route ran last year, 2.34 the year prior. But look at that ADOT. Solid, 12.3 the year prior, 13.9, 12.8 on his career. That's deep ball city. He runs a lot of deep routes. He gets a lot of deep targets, giving him a lot of opportunities to give you those splash plays and also stretch the field, making it easier to push the ball downfield. On top of that, versus single coverage, yards per route ran versus targets per route ran, he is one of the tops in the class, and he's up there with some good names there with Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, Xavier Leggette's there, Javon Baker's there. But again, look at him there. Very productive. Single coverage, 1-on-1. I'm stretching it down the field. We're going to throw it up to you. And he's very successful there. And then he also compares a lot statistically to Devonta Smith. And then you look at his size, his frame, his 40 time. Also very comparable to Devonta Smith. Just a little off. Not the same. If you look at tape, maybe you're going to draw a lot of differences there, but they're both very nuanced route runners who can get downfield. But production-wise, straight on, these guys are a lot alike, especially receiving yards per team pass attempt, a very good efficiency metric for wide receivers there. They are almost dead nuts with each other, and an experience-adjusted receiving yards per game, up there with Devonta Smith. Jameson Williams is there too. Those could be considered comparisons as well, but Devonta Smith, when you look at the size, the frame, the nuanced route running, very similar players when you look at the advanced metrics. And then when you remove the screens out there for yards per route ran, he's one of the tops in the class. He's up there with Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors and company. Johnny Wilson and Javon Baker's up there. Javon Baker's a dog at UCF. He sure is. And we know Bo Nix loves to throw the screens. Troy Franklin is up there in this class. And then you look at his reception perception, his grades on the routes, and he's up there when it comes to this class and compared to other prospects. Good on the post, good on the 9 route, good on the corner. Breaking off routes on the top end. Good on the curls and comebacks, the short stuff, he's good. Slants and flat, we're still 50% or higher. So it ain't horrible. It ain't like we're in the dungeon there in the numbers. We're just below. All in all, very solid wide receiver prospect here that we're looking at who was very productive. And you look at this offense. How does he fit? Look at the A-Dot. The A-Dot usually tells you the story. Cortland 7, 11.9 last year. Jerry Jeudy 12.1. Jerry Jeudy's gone. Someone's got to fill that role. We thought it was going to be Marvin Mims, but maybe it's going to be Troy Franklin. Maybe not. But he commands an A-Dot. We just covered that. He likes the deep ball. Deep balls go his way. Jerry Jeudy's deep balls are gone. Could be going to Josh Reynolds. I'm going to throw that name out there because we saw that Detroit's. That ain't going to be forever. That could be Troy Franklin's get right there. 12.1 last year on his A-Dot. Denver wants to push it vertically. Denver wants to push the ball downfield. Cortland Sutton was getting it deep. Jerry Jeudy was too. And then the running backs were also getting their opportunities. Marvin Mims, when he was firing, he was getting deep balls as well. But when we look at Bo Nix, this is kind of interesting here because he is a screen machine. A lot of his targets are going below the line of scrimmage. Some of it up to the 10-yard mark. Not as many past 20 yards. That being said, the Broncos are probably going to ask him to push it a little bit, push it downfield, get a good feel here. And then we see it with his A-Dot here. 8.1 on his career, 6.8 last year. Bottom dwelling A-Dot, but we are accurate. And also when we're getting blitzed, we're also funneling it short as well. That being said, Bo Nix is kind of careful with the football by keeping it short, but this team wants to push it downfield. You got Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin is a solid wide receiver prospect. Being paired with your former quarterback, that could allow both players to transition a little quicker. However, this is all on this guy's shoulders here, Bo Nix. If he can take a step forward, if he can exceed expectations, then Troy Franklin, if he's on the field, he's probably going to be a huge hit. That being said, Troy Franklin on the field, running routes, getting targets. We know he's going to be getting the deep ball. He might be a very volatile option in fantasy, nonetheless there, if he's getting opportunities. Like on the top end a couple times a year when it comes to production, and you're just wondering when it's going to happen due to the nature of what this offense could be. But if Bo Nix just surprises everybody, comes out of the wild and starts slinging it everywhere, then he's going to hit big because the talent is there. What's going to happen? We don't know. We got to let the cards play itself. But the potential is there with Troy Franklin. The opportunity is there as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.